Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I'm sure you've said this before. Maybe you've heard this before. I got to go with my gut. I got to go with my gut on that. Or I've got feeling. I've got a gut feeling about that. What is that? That is your intuition, and that's this wonderful power you have to give you answers. And really, it's you telling you the right answer for many things. How do you harness the power of your intuition? We're going to talk with somebody today who literally wrote the book about that. She is a top ranked keynote and 2 times TEDx speaker, trainer, consulting, best-selling author. She's an authority on AI, not artificial intelligence, accelerated intervention. And I got a gut feeling this is going to be good. Edie Raether joins us here on the program. How are you?
I'm good, Stephen. I'm glad to be here. Why not?
Love love your colors. Love the beret. Love the green connection there. Uh, the beret is your trademark. We know you for
It's
that.
my trademark. It is. I have about 100, every color.
Love it. I love it. Tell me about intuition. What is it?
There's so many different definitions for it. One, we've all heard of Carl Jung, and he said it's perception via the subconscious. I like that. It's that sense that we get. It's a starting point that can lead to ideas and imagination and images, but it's also noticing when things aren't rationally right. It notices that, when we have a gut feeling we're being scammed, you start reading things and there's these red flags and you don't even know what they are. But it's when there isn't that, conventional pattern of things. But, in my book, I also gave a bunch of different definitions for it. And one of them is it's cosmic fishing. Some people call it God's telephone. It's unconventional wisdom. The subconscious is a million times in my TEDx talks, both of them, I talk a lot about the subconscious because I do neuroplasticity, brain training. And so obviously for over 50 years, I have rewired people for health, happiness, and success. And if we don't, have access to the subconscious mind, it's like having a gold mine in your backyard and you're starving. You know what I mean? And so intuition is that cosmic connection. It's that telephone to a deeper level of knowing. And that's really it's logic on steroids. It's that knowing without thinking. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. And
Good.
once you harness the power of it and realize it, and I personally believe the only way that you can is by not trusting it and then realizing what transpired.
Well, you know what? I remember on Nova like 40 years ago, there was something, and they were having people do something, and it was basically, testing their gut level intuition. And it was 100% accurate. But then they threw in a wrench and they took away their positive belief system and their trust in intuition. And guess what happened, Steve?
Mm,
They lost it. They
mm.
lost it. So it seems like our positive belief system in it is what fuels the process and actually makes it work. Yeah. And yeah, it's interesting. Cher was asked years ago, Sonny and Cher,
Hmm.
and she, asked, what is your greatest blessing? And she said, the brain. And then they said, what is your greatest curse? And she said, the
Right.
brain.
Mm.
And there's a difference between the mind and the brain, but they work with each other. If they work against each other, we have chaos.
Tell me how you know your intuition is knocking at your door saying, well, wait a minute. Yeah, that's not, this is the right answer right over here. What's the feeling you get?
You know what? That's a very good question. And generally, you always hear about women's intuition. Are women more intuitive? Generally speaking, yes.
Blah,
Yes.
blah, 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 blah. Hold
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. You didn't want to hear
No,
that,
no,
but
no, no,
there
no,
are
no, 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 no.
exceptions. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no. I don't think there's any difference.
Ah,
I know that men aren't in tune with it. They're not listening to hear the messages.
Exactly. But if you don't listen to hear the message, it's like Lao Tzu said, to know and not to do is not to know.
For sure. But I just wanted to clarify. It's not
No, I'm glad you did.
women have more intuition than men. I don't believe that's true.
Okay, I like what you said. They have more access. They pick up on it more.
Awareness.
Yes, awareness. You're
Okay. All right.
absolutely right.
We're back on the same page, and this podcast will now continue.
Yeah, and that is good. But wait, what was your question again?
So Edie, what do you feel?
Well, you know what? It's actually a sensory perception thing. It's how we first, pick up on things
Mhm.
and then respect it. But this is the interesting thing. Your intuition is never wrong. It is never, ever wrong. And people say, wait a minute, I had a gut feeling I should marry this guy. And he was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and it wasn't so good.
Right.
Okay. But what it is that intuition is always there, and it's pure and it's right. It's holistic. But it is your perception on how you read it. And that can be tainted with fearful thinking, worrying, negative thinking.
Yep.
Or it can be tainted with wishful thinking. Like if you really want something to work and you have this gut feeling it's just going to be so good, it's because it's wishful thinking and not intuition. That is the most important thing I can share with you today, is to get that clarity. And if we're pure, it'll never lead you the wrong way. I'll give you an example.
Absolutely.
I'm looking out at the lake. I went from a mansion, that's what Home and Garden Channel called it. It sounds pretentious. It was a nice pet. I went from that to homeless. I mean, no flushing toilets, no running water, nothing. For 15 months, I had a pail from the Dollar Tree. That was my commode, okay? So I had lost everything, but I didn't lose my creativity. And so that's when I started writing my 7 books. So you got to grow where you're planting. But listen to this, the spot that I bought, I just remember, you got to know, I'm the kind of person that if I'm buying oranges, $3 a bag or whatever, I got to lift 5 of them. So I get that extra ounce. But I bought a property on the lake. It was over $500,000 for just dirt. And that was 20 years ago.
Wow.
I made the decision in 3.5 seconds. I had to have it. And I lived homeless for 15 months, but I was not going to let this go. So and then I think, how could I do that? I'm so pragmatic. I want that last raspberry and I'm going to test 5 of them on the scale. People think I'm nuts for one more raspberry. But when I'm spending this much, but it's one of the best decisions I ever made. I just had a gut feeling.
You knew.
I knew. And you know what else? He said, well, we can't do it. It's 10 o'clock at night. I said, you're going to wake her up. I want this closed by noon tomorrow. I want the contract closed. Honey, Steve, 3 people offered $100,000 more for the property that next afternoon. How did I know this had to be solid in cement?
I have chills hearing your story, and I want to get closer in my intuition, as we all do, to that. But I truly believe, and I want your feedback on this, that anything you need to know, any answer you need to know, we're always searching, go on the internet, find. You already know the answer.
That is absolutely right. And that's why I like that you corrected me on the intuition. I never thought of it that way. It's that cosmic telephone kind of connection. It's all there. Life is a feast and most poor fools are starving. All of the opportunities are there. We have to recognize it. We have to access it. We have to connect with it. And that's where intuition comes in. It connects us to the subconscious, which, again, it's 1,000,000 times more powerful. And that's where the information is. And so we're skimming the surface with, it's logic on steroids. Another example is my dad. I don't know if my dad graduated from 8th grade or not, but he was claimed by everybody. I'm from Wisconsin, Algoma, a little fishing village, that he was just this incredible genius. There were like 5 PhD engineers that could not figure out some of the stuff he did. And wow. I swear, and that's why I wrote the book. It was dedicated, basically. And I remember my dad, he was a big polka dancer. If you're from the Midwest, that's what you do. But I remember he would scream at us, don't look at your feet. And I realized later, he didn't want us to analyze it. Don't get so logical. Don't do the
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Do you know what I'm saying,
I
Steve?
know what you're saying.
He
And these,
said,
yeah,
and to this, I mean, I'm in my 80s and I run up and down steps. I never look at it. I cut my own hair and be in the dark. And people say, how can you do it? I just kind of feel my way through it. And that's when we connect with it. We can run down steps when you look at the steps, that's when you stumble. When you get into the flow, we talk about, you know, athletes, Jordan, Tiger Woods in the flow. That applies to all of us when we connect to the source.
yep. And the source, well, okay, let's go there. What is the source? Is that your intuition?
Uh, the intuition is the connector. It's literally, it's
Okay,
a
that
cosmic.
connects you to, so is the source, some can say that's the creator. Some
Yep.
could say, the universe, but it goes back
Collective
to
consciousness,
spirituality, something bigger than you,
spirituality,
whatever it is.
Akashic records, all
Sure,
that has ever been.
sure.
It could be the wisdom of the ancient Egyptians.
Yeah.
Look what they built. They were so tuned in because they weren't distracted.
Yeah,
They
well,
weren't addicted to digital dopamine. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. And that's why many of us go wrong with our intuition. And then the logic comes in. And many times the answer you're looking for is the easiest one. And you say, it can't be that easy. No. And then you overthink it and you make the wrong choice.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things. And actually, now you have to realize too, I'm certified in Herman brain dominance, right brain, left brain. And actually intuition tends to be associated with people who are more right brain. So it doesn't mean if you're a left brainer that you can't develop it or connect with it. But let's face it, I would never be a good CPA. Can I get better at math? Probably. Is it my natural gift? No.
I'm right there with you. Same exact thing. Numbers don't intrigue me. More creative. You're the same way. Never say never. If you had to apply yourself, we could pull it off, but it's boring. You don't want to do it.
Exactly. And you know what? And that's why we need each other, because the Herman brain dominance people actually, they did studies on all different organizations throughout the world. And you know what the best performing organizations had? They had an equal balance of all quadrants of the brain. The upper right, the upper left, the upper lower left, and lower right. Yeah, the whole bit. They had it so it's balanced, it's holistic. So we do need each other, and that's where communication comes in. And unfortunately, so many people that are on this are not developing the communication skills.
Well, yeah,
that we need.
Especially younger generation. Not to sound old, I have a 16-year-old daughter, and I can see it. When it comes to speaking with somebody, going into a store, dealing with a situation. Edie, can you think back to the times where you went against your intuition and the outcome?
When I want to get it?
Well, when you thought about those times where your gut feeling was, don't do this, that's a bad idea, and you went against it.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Oh my God, Steve. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So how did I lose 4 or 5 million? How did I go from a mansion to living outside to being, in a boat, a 19-foot boat, no cover on it? How did that happen? I know I gave a guy, when I moved to North Carolina, he lied to me. I don't lie. See, we project our frame of reference on other people. If I'm honest, I expect you to be Steve, and that's why we're more trust. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
It's the trust thing. I gave him I bought 35 lots, oceanfront lots. None of them had houses. There was no revenue, no income. And every month for, 8 years, I think it was, I was losing 22,000 a month. And I was a hardworking single parent, just nobody gave it to me. And I saw it just dwindling down. That's hard. It's hard. But you know what? I know when I think back that I knew giving him all that money wasn't right, because I had good financial advisors back in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I was hiding it from them. So my gut knew that that was the wrong thing to do. Otherwise, why wouldn't I be open to the people that I'm paying to give me financial advice? Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Have
I
you
know.
done it? And I'll bet you those of you listening to this can, whether it's a personal relationship, a romantic relationship, a work situation, a job, you know what I mean? Where there were signs
Oh,
and you violated your own soul.
yeah. Oh, what a great way to put it, Edie. You violated your own soul because you knew, I was in a long-term relationship. I didn't 100% trust that person. There was a couple of reasons why, but they weren't important enough for me to say, I'm not doing this. So I continued with it. And I would say I had call it a 10% distrust. So 90% I trusted, but there's always that little there. Fast forward quite a few years, and then what I uncovered, and I just should have went with my gut. And even when I did uncover something very large back in the day, I continued another 7 years. I should have right there at that point. Yeah.
Yes. And you know what, Steve? That goes back to what I said. If you take two things away, it always is right, but it's contaminated with wishful thinking or fearful thinking.
Yeah.
If you think your kid's going to get in an accident, it's because you're a worrier. It's not real intuition. In this case for you, it was wishful thinking.
Absolutely.
You wanted to believe,
Absolutely. Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And so then we get into, a rational override of what our gut is screaming to us. And, even in the Bible, and it doesn't matter, I don't care what, every single religion in one way talks about this. It's the third eye. That's what intuition
Yep.
is. But even in the Bible, I wrote that down someplace. It was in Luke, where he refers to the third eye. But, here it is, the third eye. Jesus, Luke 11:34. When thine eye is single. So it's not these eyes. It's not where we pick up scent.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
With single eye, the whole body is full of light,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it says, seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door will be open. But it also says, be still and know. So it's really important that we take time to be mindful, to meditate. And that's how we access the intuition. It's often screaming at us, but we're so dang busy
Yeah.
with
Back to the phone.
distractions or whatever
Yeah.
that we're not listening to that gut guidance, that inner guide, that whether it's a job that we take, on my speaking side, I've got my mantra is better thinking, better decisions, better results, better performance, right? It's the decisions we make. We will make better decisions. But, and some people, and God bless, I'm not a left brainer myself, but I love the left brainers. They keep me on track at times if I listen to them. But you know what? A left brainer will do typically, they'll do a thing and they'll draw a line down the middle and they'll put the pros and cons. That's not bad. But see, that's all going logical. And it's good. We need both. It's a dynamic dance between the right and the left hemispheres here. Does that make sense?
It does, and I'm intrigued
Yep.
that you're saying that because I believe in intuition. I was in a situation. I don't even get into the details, but my intuition was telling me for the longest time really where it was going and the outcome. In the end, I did exactly what you said because I wanted to prove to myself that this wasn't a good situation. So I drew the line and I call it the scale of life and, kind of weigh it out and the pros and the cons. And I saw that there weren't a lot of pros. It was like double, if not more cons in the situation. It was a relationship. And I was like, yeah, you know what? There it is staring me in the face. I didn't want to believe it. And of course, my intuition along the way, and this is a different situation than I said before. Along the way, I just knew the outcome. I just knew where we're going with that.
And you know what, Steve? And that's why I said it's a dynamic duo dance that we have between the right and left.
Sure.
I get the feeling that you and I are both right brain people, or at least lean that way, the creative, the ideas.
I agree.
And so we do need to do some of those type exercises. We do need to do it. But if you're a left brain person, you sometimes get stuck in that. And that will block a higher level of knowing, a deeper level of thinking. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. You know, it's interesting. Before you did say, when it comes to intuition, can you run that back? It's the wishful thinking. It's the
Fearful thinking.
fearful thinking.
It
That's the two.
contaminates.
And I'm going to add a third one. It's the tester because I will engage in a situation that I know the answer. There's no harm done. Maybe it's a little bit of time, hour or whatever. I'll engage in it just to prove that my intuition was right. And we're almost out of time, but I want to ask you this question. In doing so, I wonder if I'm manifesting the outcome and it's not really my intuition. I know I might be overthinking it. Does that make sense? Where
Wait, why wouldn't it be intuition? What do you think it is?
Okay, here's a situation. You know what the outcome is going to be. You're clearly you're hearing it and you're listening to it, but you're going to test it. You're going to go through with it anyway, just to see that you were right. You were right. Then I wonder, did I manifest the outcome or was that truly my intuition? Does that make sense?
You know what? And it's a two-way street. It's the chicken or the egg. It's like what comes first, right?
Mhm.
And I think, yeah, it's that there again, it's that dance, it's that interplay that we're always
Yeah.
talking about. Um, but there's a quote in my book. Your most brilliant ideas, listen to this, come in a flash, but the flash comes only after a lot of hard work. See, that's that dynamic dance again. It's
Mm,
okay. Nobody gets a big idea when he or she is not relaxed, and nobody gets a big idea when he is relaxed all the time. So
yeah.
sometimes we have to throw it out to the universe, but then we have to withdraw, and the butterfly comes and sits on our shoulder. Does that make sense? And there's another
Crystal
quote,
clear.
yeah, and the book is also about being in alignment with our soul's code and our calling in life. That's why I call it Why Cats Don't Bark. Cats don't bark because that's not their calling in life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
But George Bernard Shaw said, this is the true joy in life. The being used for a purpose. It's finding your purpose and mission in life, recognized by yourself as a mighty one. It's being one with it. It's Wynton Marsalis being one with his trumpet. The being thoroughly worn out before you are thrown on the scrap heap when we die. The
I
being is
believe we're out of time here, Edie, but
good.
next time we get together, why don't we talk about discovering your life purpose? Uh, what do you think?
I would love it. Can I give, if somebody wants to contact me, I do coaching. I do hypnosis.
Please,
Yeah, the
please.
neuroplasticity. Oh, and I didn't talk about my children's character building program. I have a program, Steve, that wires kids. When you climb the ladder of success, for heaven's sakes, take your kids with you. I have a program for 3 to 9 because that's when we reveal our calling in life, 3 to 9. I have a program for those kids that don't spontaneously have the flash. Oprah Winfrey did. All the Olympians do. Einstein. They know their calling. And so I have a program that programs every child with it, neurologically wires them for health, happiness, and success. Great with the holidays, Christmas coming. I'm telling you. But yeah, you can call me at 704-658-8997. Or my email is just my name, Edie at Raether, RAETHER.com. My speaking site. Also, if you guys are having a conference, I'm the spark to the start. If you're having a conference, EdieRaether.com is the best website. The kids program, wingsforwishes.com. And the coaching is long, Lake Norman Hypnotherapy and Coaching Center.com.
Uh,
Give me a call. We'll work
yeah,
it out.
love it. Raether, by the way, Raether. Edie.
And Edie is just EDIE, not 2 Ds. That's Eddie.
Gotcha. It has been wonderful, refreshing, insightful, amazing speaking with you. I can't, I don't want to say I can't wait because that's not proper phraseology. I'm looking forward to meeting with you again and going deep. You make it fun. You make all of this fun.
And that's what I do. I take people on a deeper dive into the neurochemistry of success.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm doing a 12-week masterclass if you're on a job on the neuro marketing. It's on neural marketing for sales success. So I work with corporations and small businesses and entrepreneurs as well. I'm here to help. I'm here to help.
Love it. Thank you so much. And looking forward next time we get together.
Take care. Bye for now.
And trust your gut.
Mine speaks loudly.
I'm so jealous. All right, we'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.